Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Beyond Max Q. I'm your host, Molly Johnner. I'm joined today by Dima Bergelson, the co-founder of Extrovert, which let me just tell you, I've been using it now for a couple weeks, and it is just hands down one of the most useful and dynamic tools. And I'm already hooked. They give you a free trial, and now you're like, okay, I have to buy it forever. But it's truly fantastic. So if you're not using it, especially as a marketer, I would highly recommend finding out all about Extrovert and signing up. And I'll link to it in this description too. But with that, Dima, you created this great thing, and I would love for you to talk about it.
Thank you so much, Molly, for your invitation and everybody who's listening to us. Your words are like music for founders' ears. So it's the best thing you can ever hear. That's true. And it's funny that uh, is probably the first time in my life because I've launched several companies, and by the way, me and my partner, it's our third company together. But
Hmm.
it's the first time in my life we created something for ourselves first. So
Hmm.
the story behind Extrovert is that after we exited our previous company with my partner, we
Hmm.
set up a new company. We're selling a boring, expensive, sophisticated software for enterprise clients. And we started mainly through the network. And then we're out of the network, so we had to establish regular sales and marketing processes,
Right.
which is probably everyone goes through. And we used cold outreach, as many of you, I'm sure. And nearly nobody replied. Clearly,
Or
it's
they reply
normal.
and they're mean, right? Or they reply and
Yeah,
they're like not kind, and you're like, why'd you even take the time to reply to me? It's horrible. I've been there. It's horrible.
yeah, exactly. So everybody knows it's a game of numbers, but we took it personally. So we wanted to understand how we can handle this challenge,
Hmm.
and then we realized that in an ideal world, you would want your prospects recognize your name and feel trust and feel some, I don't know, good feelings
Hmm.
before you reach out, right?
Hmm.
So it means you have to have like social relationships with your prospects first. And we made a lot of experiments, and we found the best way to do it quickly. It's by joining other people's conversations they already have, mainly for two reasons. First, everybody wants to be recognized. We like feel good about it. But the main reason, it's about communication, I think, because why people post or why people talk about something, because they feel it's important, right? They have to say something, they know something about it. So if you join this conversation, you automatically get inside the spotlight of their interest.
Hmm.
You don't try to change this area, right? So you are quickly becoming someone. Oh, I know this guy. And then we had to use good news and bad news. The good news was, as usual. So the good news was, like, we jumped from 5% reply rates to 50% reply rates. It was crazy, absolutely fantastic, game changer.
Hmm.
But the bad news was that it was super time consuming. Like, we
Hmm.
spent all day long just commenting on other people's posts. And we tried to
Right.
find a way to do it more effective. We didn't find any tool on the market. So we created it for ourselves,
I
and we
love it.
used it. Yeah, thank you. And then we start just talking to our friends, and like it was like a humble brag. Oh, by the way, we did such thing, and they say, "Wow, we also need that."
Yep.
So we realized it can be a product for the market,
Mhm.
and then we made simple calculations, and we quickly realized it's a much bigger business potentially than we had before. So we made it available for the public in July 2024. And then we completely switched to Extrovert, and now we're growing like 60-70% per month.
Mhm. I mean, I can see why, right? So, it's I think that's the hardest part is how do you scale your individual? And you're out there networking. And I love that you titled it extrovert because I'm actually kind of an introvert myself. And so this idea that you can now go out and comment and dive into conversations that maybe you don't even know that much about, but you could start to interact and have good and meet people, I think is really important. So it's great. So yes, no, and so what as a founder, right? So you're kind of going all in on extrovert. What does it look like this year and beyond for you?
Well, my dream is to make 1 million people in the world working more effective, more efficient using extrovert. So this is my
Okay.
big dream.
How many are you
This
at right
year,
now?
thousands. So just thousands times more.
Great.
Uh, it's a big deal, but still a long way to go. And
Yeah.
we are still experimenting a lot. And as we are a small team, we have just several engineers,
Mhm.
and we have like we don't have hundreds. So we
Yeah.
every day we have to decide about priorities. So
Mhm.
it's clear we need this and that and that and that. We need all the features, but
Mhm.
we have to decide which comes first. So, for
Mhm.
example, we are launching Lead Finder within maybe 2 weeks from now. So you don't
Mhm.
need to use any other tool just to find leads who post on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
Or, for example, after that, we are going to monitor prospects' reactions because that's what matters, right? You want to know who reacted and who liked and who
Yep.
replied, so you can monitor it, measure it. And there are many, many other things. And it's interesting that we, of course, like many of such companies, we started from SMBs or sole entrepreneurs as
Right.
clients, and now we see bigger and bigger companies using this with dozens of seats or close to 100 of seats.
Mhm.
So this is the way we go.
Yes, I mean, I can see lots of applications, especially from an agency perspective. You know, if you're managing brands or you're managing people in any capacity, being able to have them go out and really build relationship is tremendous because that's the hardest thing to manage. Too, it's not just like managing the people and how effectively they're doing it, but the voice too, which is kind of nice because extrovert manages the voice of the, the comments and they kind of you kind of I didn't realize how much I use like, "Oh, that's wild," or "Oh, ha," until I was like, "Oh, wow, extroverts using that a lot in my comments because that's how I talk." And so I was like, "Oh, maybe I should change that up a little bit." So it kind of also like helps you identify maybe where you need to like change your speech patterns, but it's been helpful in that sense. But you said you're growing like 60% every month. What does that look like for you in terms of like pain, right? Like you're scaling. Do you have tips or tricks for other founders or maybe in that same place?
Well, it's I launched many companies, and most probably a lot of our guests also had this experience. So
Mhm.
the last thing I want is to teach someone to do something because every situation is unique.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I think that dedication matters. So the focus matters. So and I'm really lucky because I love what you do, and it's at the same time my business and my hobby, and so it's like everything. So it really drives. Uh,
Mhm.
and also we have interesting connection with my partner because sometimes we fight about some decisions, and in
Sure.
some cases we make experiments. And for example, my hypothesis is one way and his hypothesis is the other way. So each of us tries to do our best in this direction, and then we can choose. So it's not always like everyone thinks the same,
Yes.
like this. And also maybe I'm biased a little bit, but all my experience proves that partnership is key,
Mhm.
and both inside the company and outside the company. So I really, really believe that if you are creating an ecosystem of partners around your business, you can benefit a lot. Not just because you sell a lot, but also because these people care about your business because their business
Mhm.
depends on your business. And just as you
Right.
mentioned, from an agency's perspective. For example, we launched in the end of last year. We launched managed services, so it's more
Mhm.
like a more close to agencies model.
Mhm.
Because some companies they say, "Wow, that's great. We see the value. We want to use it, but we
Mhm.
don't have enough resources. So please do it for us."
Mhm.
So we launched it, and now we started to replicate this experience to our partners who want to also establish these services teams. So we like teach them and assist them with not just technical setup, but also share with them our best practices of managing client relations, managing client expectations, all these things. So that's what we do.
Well, and how do you manage, your client expectations? Talk me through that process.
Well, I will give you just a couple of examples.
Yes.
When we launched managed services, you see it's quite different from SaaS, because in SaaS it's everything on your side, so you can see, you can edit it. But when your customer says, well, here are my 5 executives or 5, I don't know, business development managers, so do everything on your side, and you start posting comments under their names, sometimes they took it too personal. So they say, I would never use this word. I would say it in another way, like this. So, and so before we start, we always explain several things. For
Hmm.
example, your personal voice means a lot, but there are like tiny things that probably only your family really
Hmm.
understands, and most other people just don't care. So, what's your goal? You are not writing a book, you are selling things. So, what you should care about is consistency
Hmm.
and content and relevance. It's not
Right.
this word or another word. Or more specific case, when we comment, as usually we tend to comment shorter. But if you want to make an impact, if you want to share some real knowledge or
Hmm.
some insights, you have to bring a little bit more context. So you have to explain it before. So
Hmm.
people won't say, I never post that long. One line is enough. No, one line is enough if you say good job. But if you want to create to create something valuable, you have to share some knowledge, right? It takes several lines.
Or ask
And there are,
questions.
yep, exactly. Well, questions is magic. And any question is magic, because when you ask questions, you if this question is relevant,
Hmm.
people start to engage. If they start to
Right.
engage,
Exactly.
they build trust. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
and it's funny too because the LinkedIn algorithm is it's so geared around replies. So that's why I really love Extrovert because it's not actually about posting or reposting. It's really about the meat in the replies.
Mhm.
So like if you can actually get people to reply to your reply and start a thread, then it kind of boosts up, and then they because they want engagement. So they want more people to see this. Oh, this must be something that is interesting to a lot of
Absolutely.
people, and so it boosts it up. And so that's why I think questions and what you're doing is so important because it's helping people who maybe don't already have a huge amount of audience, right? Because if you don't have a lot of followers, it's tough to get followers. It's really kind of a process consistency. But if you have people replying in threads, then all of a sudden you have all of these eyes on what you're talking about because you're leveraging someone else's network, which is so great.
Yeah,
To your point.
absolutely. And it's interesting that initially we came from the like account-based marketing point of view, or PTL. So you can think about communications like PR is clearly ATL, yeah, if
Mhm,
your audience is wide. And what we do is just below the line. So we
mhm,
establish this one-to-one communications. But then we realized there is a case when we also can come back to some kind of ATL thing when you
mhm,
comment on influencers. For example, I don't know, you are selling some
mhm.
fishing hardware. I don't know. And there is an influencer who posts about fishing. I don't
Right?
know anything about that. But if you start engage, yeah, but if you start engaging with this influencer's post, you start to be seen among
Yes,
thousands of people, and
exactly.
it's again brings you back. So I want to. There was a person he works as a sales director with one of the biggest sales and marketing management software companies. He has a lot of followers. So I
Mhm,
comment on his posts from time to time because his audience is basically my target audience.
right?
And one of my comments, I got 69 likes and I got Molly 77,000 impressions of
That's crazy.
this comment. It's not a post.
Yeah,
I never got so many
that's a
so many
ton.
views. Yeah, it's crazy. So this is how it works as well.
No, I love that. Well, I know we're short on time. We always keep these short, and I love what you're building. I think everyone should check it out. Is there anything we haven't talked about, like for founders or advice or things you built that you want to share with the audience today?
Well, again, maybe it's my bias, but maybe two things. First, common sense comes first. You
Hmm.
can read good things. You can talk to smart people, but always remember that common sense comes first. That's
Hmm.
number one. Maybe three things. Second is partnerships. Partnership is key. Everywhere, inside, outside, all this.
Yep.
And the third thing, because maybe I spent big part of my career in retail and around retail, and I love this idea that, however, currently I'm in B2B, but
Hmm.
retail's idea is like this: retail is detail. Detail can change everything. So be be smart and care about those important details.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
can be very, very powerful. And of course, communicating with people, establish relationships. Relationship is king.
Yeah, it really is. No, well said. I love that. Um, we always end with, what are you currently reading? I don't know if you have time to read. You guys are growing 60 to 70% a month, but I always
Yeah,
ask just in case.
I try to read books. I mean, not just professional, but just
Mhm.
fiction. And
Mhm.
currently, I'm reading two books in parallel.
Okay.
One is Kazuo Ishidura, who is Nobel Prize author from UK.
Okay.
And second is Boris Akunin, who writes great detective stories. I really love it.
Oh, very good.
Fantastic.
I love that.
Yeah, it mixes, history with that detective stories. So like you think it's as if you are reading a real history book, but it's
Like
fiction.
historical fiction. I love historical fiction.
Yeah,
I think it's one
yeah,
of my favorites. And my kids just started reading the I Survive series. It's for kids, but it's about like historical moments in time that these people survive. And it's really cool. It's fun. So I love stuff like
yeah.
that. So that's great. You're
Great.
learning, but you're also escaping a little bit, which is kind of nice.
Exactly. Exactly.
Very
Exactly.
cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Molly.
Everyone needs to check out Extrovert. Reach out to Dima. He's in Max Q. Seriously, check it out. You need to sign up for it and be using it. If you are on LinkedIn at all, you need to be using his tool. It really will change your life. So with that,
Thank you.
thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.